Good morning and welcome to the second episode of Rally for the Republic. I'm your host, Brian Rudnick, and I'm here to tell you we've got a busy news day, and I've got a really busy day. I'm going to apologize to you if I'm going too fast, but there is so much I want to share with you. I think there's a lot we need to consider today. On June 6, 2024, the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and I'm going to go over a bunch of topics with you. And this is Brian Rudnick, Rally for the Republic headquarters here. And we're going to talk about D-Day, the anniversary, 80th anniversary. We're going to talk about the judiciary. That's one of my favorite topics nowadays and why I started this show. We're going to talk a little bit about Joe Biden. We're going to talk about the 2024 election and things Republicans might be missing. And Israel. We're also going to address Israel and what Biden is doing to harm our greatest ally. So this is Brian Rudnick coming to you live from the Rally for the Republic headquarters. I'll be back in a moment.
This is a battle cry for the American way of life and a relentless pursuit of truth and justice. It comes from a voice with unmatched experience and unyielding resolve. Join us as we dissect current events and tip the scales in your favor. This is Rally for the Republic with your host, Brian Rudnick.
On the 80th anniversary of D-Day, I want to let you know that I'm helping Lieutenant General Jack Bergman and StarPac as they work to get more conservative veterans elected to Congress. This is a solution for how we take our country back. And the general always points out Joe Biden is doing very little for our veterans and a whole lot more for the illegals he's bringing here. So if you want to change something in America, you want to get more conservative veterans like Marine Kelly Cooper elected to Congress, and the general's trying to do that, but he needs your help because conservative veterans are always faithful to our nation and our Constitution. Unlike Joe Biden, they've proven it time and again. If you want to take back our nation, you need to donate to my friends at StarPac today. I'm going to have a link in the show notes. Paid for by StarPac, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Brian Rudnick, Rally for the Republic, coming back to you here on topic number one of the day, the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Very solemn day, very special day. I'm the grandson of Holocaust survivors, so I want to thank everybody and anybody who helped to liberate the concentration camps and free Europe so that my grandparents, my relatives, a lot of great aunts and uncles could survive, come to the United States. Thanks to that bravery, I'm here today. I also want to point out that if you have not had the chance to watch the events at Normandy Beach, because most Americans were probably going to work or waking up at that time and you didn't get to see them, I'm really going to encourage you to watch some of it from the American Battle Monuments Commission's YouTube page. You don't have to watch it long enough to see Joe Biden's speech. You probably want to ignore that. But there were these great older men. They were teenagers and in their 20s, and they're there in their wheelchairs, and they're standing up to receive their awards from France's President Emmanuel Macron, who's got the ugliest first lady anybody could have. And these men with such pride are there. They know it could be their last moments. And here they are, having done something that would defy logic, having entered those beaches to be shot at, potentially killed. And I think it's something we all need to hold in reverence. But I also want to point out a former congressman, while he's a Democrat, Charles DeJoux, who's on the commission appointed by President Biden. He actually gave a great inspirational speech, had nothing to do with politics, but about commemorating the events that occurred and what it really means. And, you know, he talked about the price of freedom. And that's something near and dear to my heart and why I started this show, because I think we have taken freedom for granted in this country. As I've pointed out before, I think we have allowed our government to usurp power from the people and take advantage of us. And now they've subjugated us. We've given them our powers. We've given them our freedom. And quite frankly, while some people think it's over the top when Donald Trump and other Republicans and conservatives talk about fighting the totalitarian regime of Joe Biden, the reality is he has way overstepped. The Democrats have way overstepped. It's happened on the right a little, but it's also happening a lot on the left, predominantly on the left. And, you know, he gave a great inspirational speech. I'd encourage everyone to listen to, because it really does kind of flow into what I want to cover today. But for a little bit of inspiration, I want to remind you about the words of Allied Commander Dwight David Eisenhower, who later became President of the United States. Order of the day that Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force. He wrote to sailors, soldiers, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. You're about to embark on the great crusade toward which we strive these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hope and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you, in company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts. You will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940 to 41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced the strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking. Think about that. This man, General Eisenhower, started writing these words months ahead of the D-Day invasion, looking to inspire young men and women to take their own lives for the cause of freedom, for the cause of freeing the entire world, for freeing Europe, for freeing oppressed people, for the hopes that we would never face any kind of tyranny again, for hopes that we would never face another Holocaust. Yet we do. Our friends in Israel are facing another potential Holocaust. And Joe Biden wants to do nothing more than squeeze our friend Prime Minister Netanyahu and his country into capitulating to another bad deal. American presidents have forced Israel into bad deal after bad deal. From an enemy who doesn't just want to kill Jews, he wants to kill every one of you Christians. He and she want to kill Jews, Christians, anybody peace-loving, anybody who is not going to accept Allah as their God. That is their motivating factor. This isn't about some land deal that went bad. This is about people who will kill for the sake of killing because you don't share their religious beliefs. They think they're reliving the Crusades. They have literally killed babies in the wombs. They have taped the mouths of mothers who were pregnant and cut the babies out of the womb. They have raped and pillaged. You notice they're not returning hostages alive, they're returning them dead. So why are we allowing these people to continue doing it? Why are we telling Israel you've got to give in to a ceasefire, a bad deal? Because a ceasefire will be nothing less than a bad deal, and it'll be nothing better than a bad deal. These are people who told their own people that if you're helping to feed your fellow man, with this humanitarian aid being brought in from this ridiculous port that Joe Biden had built, we will kill you and your families. We need rockets, not food. Those are the people we're dealing with, the savages, the barbarians. I could go on and on about them. I don't want to hear that Israel's dropping white sulfurous powder. I don't want to hear that Israel might have killed 40 people. War sucks. We all know it. Innocent people die in wars. But Israel didn't ask for this. The people at the concert having a great time listening to music at the rave. Kids didn't ask to be killed, didn't ask to be shot, didn't ask to be harmed or raped. They didn't ask for that. The people who were enjoying their Saturday mornings on a Jewish holiday did not ask to have their homes invaded and their families butchered. Yet that's what Hamas did with the backing of Iran, because Joe Biden and Barack Obama empowered them with pallets of cash that you paid for. You, the American citizen, paid for it because an American president decided once again this great foreign policy is, we'll buy off these people who want to kill us. So, how does this all fit? 80th anniversary of D-Day. We're commemorating the honor, the courage, the sacrifice that so many people made, over 2,500 Americans who lost their lives, thousands of others Allied forces. and we freed Europe and eventually freed the world and created things like the United Nations and NATO. And we thought we were going to have a great world full of freedom where everybody understood freedom. And then the Cold War came and it all went to hell. And here in the United States, we've got a military, and people are talking about great military might. And we're talking about how we can convince American boys and girls to do it again if we need to. And really, everybody was giving a speech and signaling to Vladimir Putin. And let's face it, that's not a man who's getting nervous about hearing those speeches. He doesn't care. He kills lions and tigers and bears with his bare hands, while Barack Obama was wearing mom jeans coming to see him. And he knows that Joe Biden is falling asleep during meetings. So he's not exactly worried about these guys. And he probably, like everybody else who's turned on the news, saw the United States Army has a great recruiting video now about Heather and her two mommies and how she wants to join the military because the military is now overly woke thanks to Lloyd Austin and the Biden administration, and military readiness is just out the door. And the United States Navy has some influencer who's a transgender, and that's who they're telling sailors that you need to act like. There's so much we could say about that, but that is some of the cultural problems we face in America and why we're having the problems we're having, how we've allowed our nation to degrade like this. And then it ties into one of the other topics I want to address, the judiciary.
You are listening to Rally for the Republic with your host, Brian Rudnick.
We have a country that has empowered judges to think they are gods and idols. I'm sure those of you who have read your Bibles and your Torahs understand how wrong that is. Sure, it is very clear in the Torah that we're supposed to respect our judges and our authority figures, but how do you respect the people who have degraded themselves, have degraded God, have turned their backs on the law, have no integrity? Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, a man of deep conviction and faith, a man who had to upset some of the Republican Party in order to do what he thought was the best thing to keep the world free in supporting the Ukraine aid package, but also a man who understands the importance of protecting our friends in Israel. He said we're going to start a three-pronged approach to go after the judicial system because President Trump's conviction is the symbol of what's going wrong in America. The judiciary has become politicized. Anybody who thinks otherwise, even at the federal courts, has their head buried in the sand. This week alone, we're talking about Justice Samuel Alito and a flag controversy. A flag controversy. The man had a flag flown at his house upside down. His wife may have done it. Casper the Friendly Ghost may have done it. Who knows? Who cares? Okay, so maybe it doesn't look the best for him as a sitting Supreme Court judge. Now he should be recused from every case that involves freedom. January 6th, which is a complete travesty and a discussion for another time. But apparently Samuel Alito, according to the left, he's got to go. He's got to go because he flew a flag, which last time I checked, covered by the First Amendment, people. Maybe you want to read it. That same First Amendment that allows you leftists to spit at the Supreme Court and burn flags in front of their building last year after the Dobbs decision and in 2020. But apparently he's the only man in America not allowed to fly any flag he wants. Okay. Let's move on. Now we got a New York Supreme Court judge, some guy caught on video with a cop fighting over a parking spot with his wife. And that's what you get for New York State Supreme Court justices. What do you want me to tell you? These people aren't any better because they wear robes. They're really worse. They've let the power go to their heads. They're worshiping a golden calf. That's the reality. And then you got a Biden judicial nominee, worse than Ketanji Brown, Jackson Brown, whatever her name is, who, remember, she was being grilled by the United States Senate for her confirmation hearing, and she was asked how to define a woman. She couldn't define it. She couldn't even say, well, when I read my Bible, it said, no, nothing. She tried to give some answer about science. She couldn't even do that. And now we got another one, Magistrate Judge Sarah Netburn. She's in front. Lindsey Graham's asking her questions, Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. And he asked her, is it possible to determine a person's sex by only analyzing their chromosomes? And her response was, I've never studied biology. Therefore, I'm unqualified to answer this question. Now, Lindsey Graham, an interesting character, but we're not talking about him today, asked that question because apparently this is a woman who has given decisions about transferring a biological male child sex abuser to a female prison after the prisoner decided to identify as a woman. And the Bureau of Prisons actually told the judge that they recommend against it. But she can't tell the United States Senate how she formulates an opinion and analyzes a case and comes to decisions. I mean, this is the 21st century, and unfortunately, with Biden and the left running the country, people are cows and dogs, and a man becomes a woman, and a woman becomes a man, and tomorrow you can be a Martian if you want, and the Biden administration will recognize that on your passport, and that's what we're stuck dealing with. So guess what, judges? You got to have an answer. You've got to tell us, how did you determine to make the decision in this case? What is inspiring you? From where do you pull in the United States law, the statutes, case law, anywhere? Heck, tell me it came from the Bible. But of course, none of you believe in that because you're worshiping the golden calf. But that's what's wrong here. We've got a judicial system run amok. A judicial system filled with crooks. How do I know? Because I've been in front of so many of them. I've seen them. I've helped some of them get elected. Sometimes they just want to be elected because the cut in pay they're going to take outweighs the fact that they've got to work so hard for several $100,000 more a year. I have often said that the average lawyer in a reasonable metropolitan area, like here in South Florida, most major cities around the country and the suburbs of them, the average raping and pillaging attorney is probably good for $250,000 to $500,000 a year, even if they're shoddy. All they got to do is work, take cases, steal your money, give you bad advice, and keep going, and the odds of them getting in trouble are pretty limited. And they'll make that money. But then some of them want to be judges because, well, it's a whole lot easier than work. Who's really holding them accountable? Sure, there's a cabal of lawyers that get to hold them accountable from time to time, but let's be real, very few of them get held accountable. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I'm in front of a judge in a family court case, my own custody case, and something that's been going on for 14 years, and I've been in front of a judge who's lied under oath, who's lied in her own orders, with transcripts that don't even support it. Not the first judge I've been in front of who acted like this. And here in Florida, the state Supreme Court has ordered judges to get cases adjudicated in 60 days or less. We're now going way beyond 80. I still don't have court orders. The judge has heard issues for over 2 years and has taken no actions. At this point, the judge is the problem. Of course, I'm told by lawyers you can't walk into a courtroom and tell the judge they're the problem. Well, when you have judges fighting with cops, when you have judges who don't know how to define a man or a woman or to explain to the United States Senate Judiciary Committee how they reach a decision, how are they the solution? There are no King Davids and King Solomons here. That's the problem. These people are supposed to be educated. They're supposed to know the facts. They're supposed to know the law. They're supposed to have our best interests in heart. And most importantly, they're supposed to be the last line of defense for upholding the Constitution. But instead, they bring dishonor to the court. So, what do you do about that? You start holding them accountable. That's what you do. You start publicizing it. You don't just listen to me. You get out there and you write about it to your newspapers and you send people to the courtrooms and you have people, real Americans, sit there and listen and watch these judges as they treat their courtrooms like it's the Price is Right. You'll notice how biased they are in favor of some of the judges. Some of the lawyers who come in front of them, and how they treat certain genders or perceived genders now, because now we don't know what everybody's pronoun is. Unless you're, of course, part of Lloyd Austin's military, everybody gets a pronoun. Everybody's got to be nice, and we're just going to be touchy-feely. We're not worrying about battle readiness. But in the courtrooms, you actually can go there, listen, watch the judges. Very few people do this. And you actually can see a pattern and a trend. There's judges that encourage people to get along, stop bickering over stupid things, figure out solutions. They even sometimes are smart enough to look at the lawyers and say, hey, I know you guys are basically trying to make a living, racking up bills on your clients, but maybe you can all get in a room and work it out like adults. God forbid, grown-ass people could act like adults. No, let's keep bickering and clog our courts because that's what society has led to. Once again, the degradation and decline in our society, that we can't figure out how to get along. We all have to be different. We all have to create fights rather than reminding us all that we are God's children, because we're doing a terrible job of telling our own children that. We're telling them they're all different. They're black, white, and the white kid should be hated. But hey, you wonder what happens when they're adults after that. So I think you get the picture for today. Our court system is really messed up. Our court system is not a bunch of people wearing black robes that you should respect and have honor and reverence for. No, these are American citizens who happen to have a job wearing a costume to work, and they're just as messed up as the rest of us. But we're going to take action. We're going to fight back. And we're going to take back our courts just like we're going to take back the rest of the country. So please continue to listen. And I'll be back with you in a moment to talk about our next topic. Thank you.
You are listening to Rally for the Republic with your host, Brian Rudnick.
Okay, it's Brian Rudnick, Rally for the Republic. I'm back. I got a little more coffee in me and I'm ready to roll here. And I hope you don't think that I'm some Debbie Downer just telling you everything's bad in America and the sky's falling, except for the fact the sky's falling. But we can pick it up together. That's what this show is about. We're taking back the Republic, our nation, the nation the founding fathers gave us, the nation that we, the people, control, the nation that we are going to look at Joe Biden, AOC, the rest of that squad, and all their leftist allies and say, no more. No, we're done with you. And I'm going to tell you how we're doing it. Next topic. It's the 2024 election. And of course, the Democrats have done a great, masterful job, years and years of planning by all these wonderful Machiavellian leftists, and they've just bludgeoned the heck out of Trump, and it's working for them, right? Wrong. Look at how much money he's raising. You people are idiots. You fell right into Donald Trump's trap. The court cases are backfiring. America's tired of it. They realize that you are not doing anything good for America by continuing to treat Donald Trump like he is a prisoner in a third world country. But that's not the only trick up their sleeve. The Democrats have another plan. They're going to convince you that women's health care is on the ballot this election cycle. If you've been following the news, they're screaming and shouting about abortion. Abortion this, abortion that, Republicans and IVF, and Chuck Schumer had a vote. This was the make or break vote to show you where the Republicans really stand on not letting women have IVF treatments. Oh, those terrible barbarians, these Republicans, they want to stop you from having babies or killing babies because we, the Democrats, we want to make sure that we can kill babies. Because what do they say? This is not women's health care. There's plenty of statistics out there that the majority of the abortions have nothing to do with women being raped. And it's very unfortunate women have been raped. And we need to take care of those women. No question about it. But what about the babies in the womb? So the ACLU, an organization that has been around forever, supposedly the American Civil Liberties Union, who's fighting the good fight for you, the underdog of America, because you don't have Donald Trump's money. So they're going to make sure that the pregnant woman and the 9/11 terrorists sitting at Guantanamo Bay have proper representation. These people went from fighting true injustice to fighting the most woke and ridiculous causes ever. And for those of you living in the following states, please pay attention. If you live in Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New York, and Ohio, along with Georgia, Kansas, Michigan, North Carolina, and Wisconsin, I think that's every state that I've covered on their list here, you will be part of an amazing ad campaign by the ACLU, not telling you how they want to uphold the Constitution of the United States. No, how they want to make sure that they have the same rights as Hamas to kill babies. They want to join Hamas and Hezbollah in killing babies. What have we not learned here in America? You had Margaret Sanger. You should go look her up. Big advocate for killing black babies. How'd that work out for black America? The Democrats in their liberal push have actually harmed more minority communities. You saw for the last 2 weeks, Joe Biden's going out there kowtowing to black America. Oh, I'm fighting for you. I'm working for you. I've been doing this for you and that for you. Please don't look at my past 60 years plus of the Democratic Party and their racist policies and their Ku Klux Klan members, of which Joe Biden, by the way, spoke at one of their funerals, his good buddy, Robert Byrd. And let's not look at Joe Biden's individual past with all the racist comments he's been making since the 60s and the 70s. He didn't want his children going to school being busked with black kids. He made racist comments about the Indian Americans who come from India and own Dunkin' Donuts, and how black parents don't, teach their black children enough words, and that's why the government needs to step in and help them. And I could go on and on and on about Joe Biden's racist past, but let's stick to the 2024 election and the ACLU and the $25 million they want to spend to kill babies in the womb, because that's what they want to do. They want to be like Hamas and Hezbollah and kill babies. $25 million. We can't feed children with that money. We can't educate children with that money. We can't put school security officers at schools to protect children. No, we need to kill more children. That's what they're telling you. And they want you, the conservative and the Republican activists and the candidates out there and members of Congress and gubernatorial candidates talking about this issue of abortion. Don't fall for the trap. America is not as concerned, just like they weren't concerned after the Dobbs decision. Yes, there are people on the left and people on the right who view the issue of life. This is not an issue of abortion. This is an issue of life. Remember that. This is a nation that has dedicated ourselves to protecting life. Why else did we bring drug smuggling lesbian Brittany, whatever her name is, back from Russia to protect her life? Why are we sending money to the Ukraine? To protect life. All throughout Europe, not just in Ukraine. That's what they're claiming. Why are we helping Israel? Why do we want to help the people of Israel? And I'm not just talking about Joe Biden's fake attempts at helping. I'm talking about the rest of the world with common sense. Why do we want to help Israel? To protect life. Jewish lives, Israeli lives, and yes, especially the Christian lives who will be lost once these Muhammad-loving people come after you. So why in the world is it acceptable to spend $25 million to advocate for taking lives? Is adoption not possible? Maybe we ought to deregulate the adoption process, or at least reform it, because I've just talked to some people this week who have told me their horror stories of dealing with the regulations of adoptions. They wanted desperately to adopt children, but the system is broken like a lot of the government regulations we have. But it's the 2024 election cycle, and we, the conservatives, need to win to take back our country. So stop talking about this supposed abortion issue. It's a life issue, and we're Americans and we protect life. But most importantly, you're not going to win at the ballot box by talking about it. It's a trap by the Democrat Party. So talk about our record and talk about what the left has done to destroy America, because Americans get it. As much as they tell you they care about killing babies in the womb, guess what? They still got to pay for gas in the car, food on the table, and health insurance. And Obamacare didn't fix that health insurance problem. No, it didn't. And nothing Joe Biden touches is like the man with the golden touch. No, it's just the opposite. Anything Joe Biden touches breaks. It breaks, and it breaks badly. Have you not witnessed Bidenomics? Have you not witnessed all that money that we gave supposedly for the so-called Inflation Reduction Act? And even the liberal papers have now put out studies that say he hasn't spent the money yet. So I'm going to leave you with this today. We should be inspired by the 80th anniversary of D-Day and the men and women who sacrificed everything, and some people who sacrificed something and still were able to live through it, and those who still had the opportunity to go there today. And it's amazing to see those old men there receiving the accolades that they so much deserve. And it's impressive, and it should be heartfelt for everybody. And again, I remind you to go watch the video of Secretary Charles DeJoe. It was actually an inspirational video. Didn't know Democrats could speak words like that. So that was really nice. But regardless of politics, it was a great speech. And I encourage you to read the words of General Eisenhower that I read at the beginning of today's episode. And I want to remind you that to win the 2024 election, we need to talk about the issues that matter to America. America cares about the economy. We care about our borders being overrun. By the way, if you're a minority in America and you're almost convinced that Joe Biden is doing something for you, those illegal aliens, they're going to take your jobs. They're going to take your government benefits. Joe Biden's going to take care of them before he takes care of you. That's why he's bringing them over here. And I'm going to remind you, we have a judiciary that is broken, and we, the people, need to take it back. We need to control it. And we're going to talk in future episodes about how to really apply proper pressure to the judiciary legally and hold them accountable. Because in some states like Texas and Florida, we elect them. And other places they're appointed, but there's a mechanism. There's a governor. There's a nominating committee and a nominating commission, whether it's regional or statewide. And all those people, they have interests that you can influence. So we're going to talk about that. But I want to thank you again for listening to my second episode of Rally for the Republic. I hope you found it productive and informative. I am grateful that you stayed this long to hear me out, and I look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you for joining us on Rally for the Republic, where we are fighting for America's future. Visit 1776coalition.com. Rally for the Republic podcast is available on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and download. Join Brian Rudnick next time as we continue to fight for the American way of life and challenge the hypocrisy. This is Rally for the Republic.